It's the Pacers in Indiana. As we bring you an Eastern Conference contest. Pour a little more milk into that cereal and settle in for a Saturday morning bout of NBA on your 2K station. Presented by State Farm, let's take a look now at the Detroit Pistons opening lineup. Wallace is out there with Wallace. Then there's Chauncey Billups. Then there's Richard Hamilton. And it's Prince in at the small forward spot. And for the Pacers, they've got Steven Jackson, Jermaine O'Neal out there with Artest. Then it's Miller and Bender.
You know, you take the Bulls out of the equation, and the Pistons actually had a good year in the Central Division games last season.
And the Pacers start off with the ball. Wallace against Artest. And it's Wallace picking him up. Here's O'Neal. Solid play in the low block, and that one's good. So for the Pistons, 7-9 in their division. But 4 of those losses came to Chicago, Steve. They were swept by the Bulls.
Well, not a very strong division, obviously. The Bulls, really a good team. Everybody else under 500. So Chicago ran away with that division. But at least Detroit was competitive with their other division rivals.
And let's get this update now from Doris Burke, who's across the way on the sideline.
Kevin, earlier I had a chance to speak with Rick Carlisle. When we talked about what they'll try to do on defense, he told me they're going to have to do everything they can to neutralize their opponent's high flyers, saying, quote, "We can't play above the rim like these guys, so we'll have to do our best to keep them away from the hoop." Gentlemen, easier said than done.
And thanks for that story, Doris.
Well, Chauncey Billups, a very productive season a year ago. He's not the player he once was. He's still a guy who will step out and take a big shot, run his team well, and show great leadership.
Here's O'Neal with the lead pass. Blocked again. It's tipped. On defense, Indiana. You're right, Steve. You know, Billups did show leadership, and he did deal with some injury issues last season, too. Some torn ligaments in his wrist, Clark, an injured knee in the playoffs. The injuries did slow him down.
Yeah, and a lot of people would make the automatic jump that because he was injured and he's getting older, that those two things are connected, and going forward, you got to worry about it. Sure, you got to consider his age, but he's a great shooter. He's a terrific leader. He's a championship caliber player. And if he's healthy, he's still got some really good basketball left in him, because, again, he's one of those guys whose game isn't predicated on overwhelming athleticism. It's about smarts, toughness, skill. And if your body's good, you can play that game a long time.
Now you threaten the defense inside and then find the open man on the outside. Good offense.
He passes to Wallace. Back to Billups. So it's Indiana now. They trail by 1. And that shot falls short.
Well, the Pacers historically have always been tough on their home court, and last season was no different. 24-17 in Indianapolis. It's one of the reasons the Pacers made the playoffs.
Now O'Neal following Billups' three-point attempt. Here's Jackson, and unable there to get the go-ahead bucket. Well, Clark, you know all about this Indiana team being in their front office. Dead last in attendance last season, averaging just a little over 13,000 fans, but the team gave the diehard fans something to care about with the playoff experience.
Yeah, they certainly did, and hopefully that'll catapult more fans into coming back to Conseco. In 2001, the team averaged almost 18,000 fans. If the team gets back to contention, you know Indiana loves basketball, and those fans will be back.
Billups against Jackson. Billups passes to Wallace, and lots of contact there. Missing the shot. He'll shoot two. That one on Jackson.
And for the Pistons, like a lot of young teams, it was a real struggle last season on the road. In fact, they only won 9 times away from their home building.
That one misses. Steve, going back to those 9 wins on the road for Detroit you just talked about, Clark, just not a pretty sight when they traveled away from the Motor City.
Well, the issue for Detroit was offensively. They just didn't have any kind of consistency or continuity. I mean, they could not successfully put together strong offensive showings, especially on the road. And I think you've got to score better on the road than you do at home. I think typically you play a little better defensively at home. On the road, you've got to be ready to score the ball.
Now, here is our test. And it's Miller missing. Right side Billups. And it's Miller picking him up. Billups kicks to Wallace. Covered by Artest. Great D that time from Artest.
Tell you, the defense was right there, just waiting, doing a nice job of anticipating that play.
Steve, every team needs tough interior defense to be successful.
Here's O'Neal. They double him with Wallace. O'Neal dishes to Artest. Outside Jackson. 5 on the clock. Indiana needs to get a shot off. And it's Artest missing.
Boy, in the film session, they'll say that was a well-challenged shot.
Tries to snap the cold streak. And again, it's the Pistons missing. So the Pacers call timeout, their first of the game.
You know, for the Pacers last season, it was encouraging for them to make the playoffs, but it can't obscure the hard work that's still left ahead. I mean, they only won 37 games in the regular season. They would have needed 9 or 10 more wins to make the playoffs in the West. So they've still got a ways to go.
Change here for the Pacers. Indiana leading. Clark, you mentioned the 37 wins. That was 25 less than the Chicago Bulls team they faced in the first round.
Sure was, yep.
Steve?
Well, even with that said, Kevin, it was a very competitive series. It went 5 games, but every single game went down in the stretch.
Now here's Jones. Here's Miller. Good on the three-point shot.
I tell you what, he'll be quite contented to sit out there beyond the arc and knock down shot after shot if they're going to play defense like that. Tighten it up out there.
Jones against Prince. Picked up by Artest. That's good. Wallace has got 6. 12 seconds left here in the opening quarter. O'Neal is screen on Prince. Both teams have it going here early and still close through the first quarter. Pace. Well, it's been a tight one so far as we get the second quarter going back here. Here are the 5 Detroit has to start the second quarter. Wallace is out there with Tayshaun Prince. Then there's Richard Hamilton. Then there's Chauncey Billups. And it's Wallace in at the pivot spot, manning the middle. Here's Wallace. O'Neal's there. Wallace down low. He's picked up by O'Neal. Wallace's shot is good.
He had almost a free run to the hoop that time, Kevin. I mean, that was too easy.
Unnecessary pass there. He's got to make a better decision.
From the sideline, let's catch up with Doris Burke.
Hi, guys. Well, J.R. Smith, a free agent going into this season and now on a new team. His former coaches in Denver had their critiques of his mental approach, but Smith still got onto the floor with his athleticism and offensive gifts. Smith now in a new environment. We'll see how he does.
Plenty of talent, that's for sure. Thank you, Doris.
And Smith, you know, going into his 8th season now, but still a really young guy, only 26 years old. He's got a lot of basketball left.
And O'Neal gets it to go.
Well, I tell you what, the coaching performance of Rick Carlisle in the playoffs last season was, I think, what cemented him in the minds of many as an outstanding coach. We've always known it. He was terrific with Detroit. He was outstanding with the Pacers. and he's got a championship ring with the Dallas Mavericks.
Here is Billups. Jermaine O'Neal making his last shot. And here's Hamilton. Here's Wallace. And yes, a nice assist from Billups. Wallace has got 12 points in the game.
Well, going back to Carlisle, I mean, he did such a great job, you're right, Clark, in the playoffs last year, mixing up the rotation, going deep into the well to get the right matchups through every step of the playoffs. I mean, I thought he did as good a job as possible for the Mavericks in that playoff run. That's one of the reasons they won the title.
Now here's Billups, looking for his first bucket of the game. And it's Miller picking him up. Backing down is Wallace. Guarded by O'Neal. Jams it with authority. And it's all knotted up. And it's Indiana's ball.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that Detroit was the dominant team in the Eastern Conference year after year. But times change, a lot of turnover in Detroit, and they are in a major rebuilding mode now.
Pass to Artest. Dishes it to Jackson. And Billups picks him up defensively. Jackson misses.
Pretty good defense there. I mean, that's a shot that he can make, but they really challenged him.
And Steve, back to what you were saying about the Pistons, it's hard to tell when it's time, to move a successful team historically in a different direction. Clark, you're part of a front office, and I'm sure you guys battle with that every day. When do you make the change? When do you stick with what you've got?
Yeah, it's kind of the conundrum. Do you jump before you get pushed? Teams get older, players get older. They did trade Chauncey Billups, and they let Rasheed Wallace go, and I think that timing was about right. The problem is that now you've got to make good choices and have your young players start to develop, and that usually takes a little longer than you want it to.
Yeah, they got some chemistry issues there, too.
Yeah, they did have some friction, no question about it.
Here's Miller after Rip Hamilton's score. Kept alive.
And I think whichever team starts to dominate the glass could really take control of this game.
I won't disagree with you. I mean, it's so tight between these teams right now on the board that you're just waiting to see which team might pull away. Boy, I like that finish. Perfect for that possession.
Yep, a simple one-hand jam.
That's the way to do it, guys.
The Pacers making a switch here. Jones is checked in. A minute 42 left now here in the second.
Kevin, one of the things that's sometimes overlooked with Billups, he's strong at 6'3" and 200 pounds plus, but he's an excellent low post player for a guard.
And the official signaled the backcourt violation. Not very careful there. Here's Jackson. And Clark, you talk about Billups' great post-up ability. He may be slowing down with age, but Steve, that post-up game of his is timeless.
Yeah, 6'3", as Clark mentioned, a really strong body. And he's got good footwork, great touch, just a good knack for scoring. He's one of the better post-up point guards in the NBA today.
Indiana trailing here. Jones, the pass to Jackson.
And as usual, Steven Jackson last season, among the league leaders in technical fouls. He's always been a very volatile player. He ended up tied for second most in the league with 15.
Off on that one, so he goes 1 for 2 at the line. And here are the Pistons now. Billups from outside. And the rebound goes to Jackson. Speaking of Steven Jackson, Steve, he's one of those mile-a-minute guys. Clark, a gregarious guy in the locker room, but the more you talk to the refs, it's just natural. The more technicals you're likely to get.
Well, it's a challenge to rein him in. He's so emotional. You don't want him to feel you're taking the other side. You also want to make sure he's not getting distracted. So you got to pick your spot.
Hamilton kicks to Wallace. Back to Hamilton. Lays it up and banks it in. Hamilton's got 6 here in this quarter.
He didn't get off to much of a start early on, but he seems to have shaken off the rust here in the quarter.
Artest dishes to O'Neal. Miller. Uncovered. Rebound by Wallace. Wallace has got 3 rebounds so far in the game. Passes it to Hamilton. Over Artest. Hamilton can't get that one to fall. Timeout called the Pacers.
They've gone cold, and a smart timeout here to give them a second to regroup and try to get back on the right track.
Up in time. Got it off in time, but it's no good. Back in a moment from Indianapolis.
And it's been a great basketball game going on in Indianapolis.
Well, both sides have assessed what they need to do over the break in halftime. We'll see now if one can pull out a way here in the third.
Well, one of the reasons the Pacers were able to move forward in that Central Division is that teams like Milwaukee, Detroit, and Cleveland really struggled last season.
They've got Miller. Artest is out there with Jermaine O'Neal. Then it's Steven Jackson and Bender. So that's the group out there for Indiana. Pistons leading by 3. Now, here is O'Neal from the wing, and it's Miller missing. You know, Steve, you mentioned the Pacers in the Central Division. Chicago, really the one dominant team from that division, and the Bulls knocked them off in 5 in the first round. But, you know, the Pacers were scrappy against them.
They really were. I was extremely pleased and proud of how the Pacers competed. Didn't know exactly what to expect, having been through somewhat of a disjointed season, but the team came on really strong, showed a lot of life in that series, and they have young talent, maybe not the caliber of MVP Derrick Rose, but they've got players that are going to be good for a long time.
Artest the pass to Miller. Here's O'Neal. The jump shot from the baseline is right on target. O'Neal's got 8.
They are just lighting them up from mid-range area.
You know, sometimes we forget about the value of the mid-range or in-between game. This team has made 8 of their last 10 with that shot, the in-between shot. Well, I tell you what, it was the good pick that was set that turned him loose.
And once he got around it, Steve, it was smooth sailing right to the hole.
Well, because of the pick, he had plenty of room. That's why he was able to power down that slam.
That is not a difficult pass. You'd think they could keep it in bounds.
Phillips with the ball. Still looking to get on the scoreboard. Got a piece of it. Here's Wallace. Foul called as he misses. He'll go to the line and shoot 2.
Well, the Pacers handled themselves pretty well against the Eastern Conference last season, 28 and 24. And they seem to be a team on the rise. They've got a lot of young talent. And having made the playoffs last season, they're hoping for more this year.
And for the Pacers last season, finishing 4 games under 500, but they are an ascending ball club as they made the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, they're building it the right way, too. Larry Bird and David Morway putting some pieces together. A nice core group of young, hard-working, talented players. Now you just, with some salary cap room there, perhaps you can add a piece or 2 to elevate your talent base and your experience level. Being patient, not taking shortcuts, they're headed in the right direction.
Good place to play.
Yeah. What a marvelous job they've done of sharing the basketball. A ton of assists.
Well, they know where each other is all the time. They're moving the ball, just finding the open guy. Nobody seems to care who scores.
All the defender had to do there was just stay close to him, and he did.
Pacers trail by 5. Outside for Jackson. Guarded now by Tayshaun Prince. Jackson kicks to O'Neal. And 2 free throws coming up as he misses that one. Drawing the whistle and a lot of contact there. Rip Hamilton picks that one up.
Well, Jermaine O'Neal only played in 26 regular season games for the Celtics last year, and it makes you wonder, you know, how much does he have left, because he certainly has had some knee trouble recently.
Clark, you know, you mentioned J.O. He can still contribute, but he has to remain healthy, which, you know, Steve, has been a problem for him.
Boy, 15 years in the league, and it's taken its toll on Jermaine O'Neal. But we did see him after missing most of the regular season for Boston last year. We saw him be a major force in that New York series in the first round for the Celtics.
From the arc, and it's Miller missing.
think he's just got to compose himself, gather himself. He may be trying a little too hard out there. Let it flow, let it happen, don't force it.
Well, he rotated defensively, but probably just a little bit too late, and good call. He didn't quite get to the spot.
That's always a bang-bang call for the officials. He got that one right.
And the Pistons decide to take their first timeout right here.
Well, you remember these two teams years ago had a pretty healthy rivalry, Detroit and Indiana. And last season, it was pretty even. They split 4 games.
Wallace outside. Lifts up, and the rebound goes to the Pacers. Still, though, you know, Clark, if you're a Pistons fan, you hate to see the Pacers, a rival, in the playoffs while you're sitting at home.
Well, for Detroit, it must have been nice watching them get eliminated early by the Bulls, the Pacers did, but they'd much prefer to be in the playoffs and a team doing the eliminating rather than just watching it. But they're a long way from, I think, being a playoff team based on what the roster looks like right now.
Who is the Pacers' biggest rival, Chicago or Detroit? Hard to say.
It really is. I mean, you know, going back to the successful years of the Pacers from the mid-'90s to early 2000s, it was both. It was at different times. Initially, it was the Bulls, and then in that early 2000s period, it probably was Detroit.
And we know about the Knicks.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the early
exactly.
mid-'90s. Yeah, so exactly. I think it was probably Detroit most recently.
Yes. Wallace with the screen on Miller. Off the screen. O'Neal with the defensive effort. Pacers trail by 5. It's Chauncey Billups with the rebound. And here are the Pistons now. It's a 5-point game. Right side Billups. Wallace with the screen on Miller. Prince outside. Down to 5 on the shot clock. Miller against Hamilton. Nice fake there to create the shot, but it's no good. So it's Indiana now, trailing by 5. Outside Jackson. O'Neal kicks to Miller. Fires from deep. No good, trying to beat the buzzer. And offensively, a great show for the fans through the first 3 quarters. It's been a fun game to... As the 4th quarter gets going, let's swing it over to Doris Burke, who has our Sprite Spark report. Doris?
Well, Kevin, our spark of the game in this one, the stretch by the Detroit Pistons. They've been in total control here and keep finding ways to move the ball, spread the floor, and continue to put points on the board as they widen the gap.
All right, Doris, thank you. That run has made a difference, guys. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what got them off and going.
Yeah, they were really able to seize the momentum at that point, and they just rode it.
Our 4th quarter action underway, presented by Gatorade. All fueled up and ready to go. Let's reset the lineups. On the floor for Detroit, Rip Hamilton out there with Chauncey Billups. Then there's Tayshaun Prince. Then there's Wallace. And it's Wallace in at the 5, roaming the paint.
Boy, every time they drop it in, they do so from close range. Easy baskets.
Yeah, high percentage looks time and time again, guys, and it's paying off for them the way they're playing this game. I like their strategy.
Fellas, they are heating up from outside now.
Yep, of their last 5 hoops, 3 of them have come from long range.
Billups, no good. Here's Indiana now. Right side, Artest. And it's Wallace picking him up. Artest dishes to Miller. Back to Artest. Miller up on top. Now the dish to Jackson. From deep. Rebound, Detroit. Wallace has got 6 rebounds in the game. Now a timeout called by Detroit. And now Doris Burke has an update from the sidelines.
Well, Kevin, head coach of the Pistons had some words for his team over the break. He said in no uncertain terms, we're going to have to do it with grit and guts, but that's nothing new for us. That's exactly who we are. Guys?
Always great to hear from you, Doris.
You know, the defense that time was just content to stay out of the way. I mean, no resistance at all. They let him do exactly what he wanted to right there.
Steve, no one looked too anxious to take him on.
No, you know, guys, I think that speaks to his strength and his agility. I mean, he's not a guy you want to stand in the way of as a defender.
And the last replay courtesy of the Sprite Slam Cam. Miller, shot denied. And they're able to recover. For the three, hits the bucket. Miller's got 12 points here in the second half.
Boy, has he picked it up in the second half. He's on fire.
Here's Billups, and it's going to be a 3-second call.
You know, sometimes the intensity of the game can lead to brain-neutral plays like that, guys.
Indiana leading. Hamilton against Miller. And there's the feed to O'Neal. Some nice passing. Jumps up. Rebound by Wallace. Clark, one thing we've seen from these guys is excellent ball movement.
And you love to see that, Kevin. I mean, I love watching unselfish play, and I know Steve enjoys that too.
Yeah, that's the best part of the game. I mean, a five-man team game where the ball moves. There's so much unselfish play. It's beautiful to watch.
And they call goal intended. They'll give him the bucket.
Well, they haven't been getting lit up from outside here. All the points they're giving up are from in close. They've got to offer more resistance.
Yeah, defense has to get better, Clark. They've got to body up, bump somebody, get physical, force the action back out to the perimeter.
He kicks it to Artest.
2 minutes.
6 to shoot. Here's Bender. No good.
He lost his focus there, guys. That's a shot he should make.
Billups against O'Neal. Billups with the bucket.
And all 10 of their last points have come inside the paint, so defensively you've got to make an adjustment.
Yeah, and you got to do a little more to stop it, too. I mean, it's coming way too easy for him. At some points, you just got to buck up and say it's not going to happen.
And the rejection by O'Neal. And the Pacers call time here. They're trailing by 3. 1:30 left here in the fourth quarter. Pacers trail by 3. Jackson passes to O'Neal. Feeds to Miller. There's the 3. No good. So Detroit will take it the other way.
Yeah, he's struggled with his shot this quarter, and he's got to find a groove somehow.
Billups kicks to Wallace. Out of bounds. They'll keep possession. There's a minute left to play in the final quarter. Jackson against Billups. It's good!
Well, you love the way he searched for good shots all game long.
And the Pacers call time here. They trail by 5. There's 49 seconds left in the fourth quarter. There's 49 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Shot's good.
Seems to be recovering after that rough first half. Really starting to play well here.
And I think we'll see them burn the clock a bit here.
You know, I think that's probably a smart move.
I think so, too. Kicks it to Wallace. Picked up by Artest. And they turn it over. Stepped in the line that time.
Oh, that certainly could be costly. In a close one, those kinds of mistakes can really give the other team momentum.
This could be a turning point.
Kevin, critical possession here.
Miller against Hamilton. Shot clock at 6. Shoots the 3. Off target from downtown to tie it up. Yes! He has tied up this game. Oh, what a shot.
Kevin, it's really hard to deny this guy the offensive board if he's got even the slightest position inside. He'll take advantage of any little sliver you give him.
Here's Wallace. Oh, missed it.
Yeah, he's surprised he didn't make that one because he had a pretty clean look at the hoop.
Regulation is ended and we're heading to overtime. Back in a moment from Indianapolis. Well, if you're just joining us, the intensity has really heated up in this one. As we watch this one go now to overtime. The Pistons in the tip-off to begin overtime. All fueled up and ready to go to overtime basketball here. Brought to us by Gatorade. Let's check out who's on the floor. On the floor for Detroit, we've got Wallace. Chauncey Billups out there with Richard Hamilton. Then there's Tayshaun Prince, and it's Wallace in at the 5 spot. Jackson dishes to Miller. A 3-ball. Rebound by Wallace. Wallace has got 8 rebounds in this game. They need to get going. Billups passes to Wallace. And he finishes nicely on the layup. Wallace has got the first points here in the overtime period for the Pistons. Indiana trailing here. Here's Jackson. Flushes it down.
Uh-oh. A little bit of a statement made there while he hung on the rim.
That's one way to make sure the whole building knows exactly what you just did.
Yep.
Pretty brash move right there, guys. Offensively, just hammering away in the paint.
And that's 10 straight points inside, too.
And that one's good by Miller.
They just lost him on the break that time defensively. I mean, he slid out to the three-point line and had plenty of room.
Now a timeout called by Detroit. They're down by 1. 1:53 left in overtime. Here's Billups. And it's Miller picking him up. He goes up. Wallace, good. Wallace has got 6 in the quarter.
What a floor leader he's been at the offensive end.
You know, he's done a terrific...
And Jackson throws it down. Now Sprite slam cam to replay that one.
What a great game. This looks like it's going to go right down to the wire.
Well, you talk about what happens in close games. Mistakes are magnified. Both teams have to be very careful down the stretch here.
What a game. This lead continues to go back and forth.
No question about it. This has been a competitive game.
Hamilton against Miller. And it's Wallace picking him up. Just 5 to shoot. Jackson kicks to Artest. Miller over Hamilton. And the shot clock expires. 24-second violation. The Pistons lead it. Outside Billups. He dishes it to Wallace. Back to Billups. Picked up by Artest. Hamilton left side. The kick out to Billups. And there's the shot clock violation. Couldn't get the shot off in time. Here's Jackson. Guys, it's come down here to a very important possession.
Yeah, 0 tolerance for mistakes here.
Outside for Artest. It's good. This game is all even.
Came through there with a key basket.
Yeah, that was huge. Stepping up when it matters most.
Takes it up. Billups, no good. And here we go with Steven Jackson. Guarded now by Tayshaun Prince. Now Jackson. Jackson is doubled, and Billups over to help. 4 on the shot clock. Moving it around nicely. And they turn over the 24-second buzzer, signaling the shot clock violation. Time called here. The Pistons decide to talk it over. Here's Wallace. Goes up off the inbound. Missed. Another tie, and we're going to have a second overtime. And with another overtime period here, we've got more terrific basketball coming your way right now. Billups against Miller. Rebound by Ron Artest. So it's Indiana now. He feeds it to O'Neal. And it's Wallace picking him up. Out to Miller. And the pass to O'Neal. Clock at 6. Leads him in there. Bender. And a foul on the shot. He'll go to the stripe for 2.
Well, that should be a rule. No layups. Protect the paint. Make them earn every point.
Yeah, I think that's just tough, hard-nosed, smash-mouth basketball. Make your opponent earn their points from the line. Don't give up any layups.
Here's Billups. Hamilton outside, and it's Miller picking him up. Wallace outside. Guarded by O'Neal. Nice shot by Wallace.
Kevin, great finish on the low block. I love it.
Here's Miller. Outside Jackson.
2 minutes. 2 on 1.
Right side Jackson. And stolen by Wallace.
What a massive defensive play. Perfect timing.
Wallace misses. And the Pacers call time here. There's a minute 47 left to play in the second overtime period. Could not get a winner with just one. James Jones, he's checked in for the Pacers. And it's Indiana's ball. Here's O'Neal. They rule this one goaltending. Count the shot.
And defensively, you want to keep the ball as far away from the hoop as possible.
Yeah, because he's too good inside, Steve. I mean, he'll make you pay every time in there.
Jackson against Hamilton. Back to Billups. Fires the 3. The Pacers pull it in.
Solid advantage in the rebounding totals for them so far here.
You know, in every game, but particularly in a close game, every little advantage you can use helps, and they're certainly enjoying one on the glass here. He got a little room at the rim and laid it in. Great play.
Picked up by Artest. Here's Wallace. The basket good off the assist from Billups. Wallace has got 36.
Well, they keep going right back to the paint, and who can blame them? I mean, they're getting it done in there.
Yeah, 3 of their last 5 buckets, guys, have come from inside the lane area, so I'd expect them to continue to go inside right at the defense.
Oh! Let's see that again on the Sprite Slam Cam.
Boy, that dunk got everybody up off their seat.
Oh, they're loving it, aren't they, Steve?
Well, how could they not? I mean, he put the cherry on top of the sundae on that one.
Yeah, right. Less than 1 minute left. Billups against Jones. Miller outside. 6 on the shot clock. And it's Wallace picking him up. Shot from the wing. Nothing but net. And it's a 6-point Pacer lead.
They're looking good here, adding to this lead.
Yeah, you know, time winding down here, the score and the clock clearly in their favor.
And they're running. Takes the 3. No good from Hamilton. Now Artest. Here's Miller. So it's Indiana picking up the win. Clark, a double overtime game can really take its toll on the players, and after this one, the officials, the fans, everyone's going to have to take a needed rest.
Yeah, exactly, but I tell you what, they showed me the heart of a champion here in this one.
And now for Clark Kellogg, Steve Kerr, and Doris Burke, this is Kevin Harlan thanking you for joining us tonight in our presentation of NBA on 2K Sports. Now our Jordan Player of the Game.